everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I am here to talk you through my September pile of possibilities rather than a strict TBR. Also, once again, I apologize. It seems that every day that I wake up and think, yes, I'm going to film today, my neighbor breaks out his chainsaw. So if the microphone is picking any of that up, I do apologize. September is always a rather random assortment of books for me, which is really reflective of the time that we're in. We are transitioning into fall here in the US, so I could end up with very summery feeling things like my top, but at the same time, it could get very cold and we could end up with autumnal colors. P.S. I did not plan the autumnal colors of these spines. It just happened to work out that way. It's also a time when my schedule is topsy-turvy because I go back to work as a teacher, and so I'm trying to relearn my workload and my organizational system and readjust to a new sleep schedule. So I am not holding myself to finishing any number of these, but these are things that I think will be fairly manageable, as well as things that I am relatively excited for, which will hopefully pull me in to read them whenever I can. And I had to avoid any Victorian books because, if you're not aware, the Victober prompts for this year will be arriving probably September 1st or somewhere at the beginning of this month, and I am so thrilled for those. So I wanted to avoid any of my Victorian books just in case they happen to fit any of this year's prompts. So I want to start first with my nonfiction. And my nonfiction pick, I think, I would like to be Shy by Mary Rodgers, which is her memoir autobiography. And this I can get as an ebook through the library. I was able to go into the city with my mom and we were able to see the revival of Once Upon a Mattress with Sutton Foster, which was fabulous. And that was when I realized that this was in fact a book that I could read. Mary Rodgers was one of the co-writers of Once Upon a Mattress and is also the daughter of the Rodgers half of Rodgers and Hammerstein, who together created such musicals as Oklahoma, Cinderella, Sound of Music, I think. So I would be really fascinated to get a glimpse into her life coming from that background and trying to make a name for herself in her own right. And in addition, another thing I learned just from reading the summary is that she wrote the original novel of Freaky Friday. So hopefully I will be able to get that through the library. It does look quite long, but reading ebooks I find tends to go quite quickly because it feels like scrolling. I don't know why that should be a thing, but it is. For my classic, I wanted to go non-Victorian and fairly short, so I decided to pick up Picnic at Hanging Rock. Given the warm weather but transitioning into fall, I thought the idea of a picnic would be appropriate. It's a relatively short book, and there is a spooky, thrillery sort of element, which I think suits our transition into fall. This is, to my knowledge, an Australian classic where at the turn of the 20th century, a group goes on a picnic to Hanging Rock, but 3 girls from that trip go missing, and it's about, presumably, the fallout afterwards. And so yeah, I'm very intrigued to pick this up. Then I was inspired by Shelley of Shelley Swearingen talking about the New York Times 100 Best Books of the Year and all of the subsequent videos that she made about that to pick up An Unnecessary Woman by Rabih Alamedin. I hope I'm saying that right. This was, I believe, one of the most influential books of the 21st century, I think, according to the New York Times. And it occurred to me that I have had it on my TBR for at least a year now, and I really should read it. So according to the back, this is about a single woman who is now much older in the wake of the Lebanese Civil War. And I believe she is also very well educated. And it just looks at what is life like for one of these, to borrow George Gissing's, odd women. And how does Lebanese society view these women as well? And I think that sounds really cool. Then the next three I think are just going to be fun, and hopefully that will draw me in. The first is the first Lizzie and Belle mystery, which is Danger and Drama by J.T. Williams. I have been looking forward to reading these ever since I found out about them from Katie at Books and Things over the summer. These are mysteries centering around two real historical figures, those being Dido Bell and Lizzie Sancho, the daughter of Charles Ignatius Sancho. And yes, I do now have The Secret Diaries of Charles Ignatius Sancho. I picked it up in the city when we went to see Once Upon a Mattress. So this series has these two girls teaming up when they're about 11 or 12 years old to solve mysteries around Georgian and Regency London. And I think that sounds fantastic. I then also have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is a contemporary romance about two people who I think work in publishing. Given how much I loved Beach Read by Emily Henry, I'm really hoping that this one lives up to the hype that it's gotten, because this tends to be one of people's favorites. Then I have also been saving Pip Williams's The Bookbinder for this time of year. Again, I'm really excited for it. I loved The Dictionary of Lost Words. It just so happens that Katie of Books and Things' book club is also reading this book. In the UK, this is called The Bookbinder of Jericho. I have my theories as to why they changed the title for the US. I think it's rather silly, but I do see the logic. But anyway, I'm not sure if this is a direct sequel to The Dictionary of Lost Words, but I'm sure it has further to do with publishing in Oxford. And I think this one would be in the wake of World War I? We'll find out. Then I have my two maybes. Maybe I would like to get to these. Louisa May Alcott's An Old-Fashioned Girl called to me this morning as I was putting this pile together, so this is a maybe. Maybe I would like to get to this one. This is the story of a young girl who I believe is taken in by her cousins, and only the brother of those cousins really tends to take her seriously. Later on in life, she is making her own way in the world as a music teacher, but he comes back to her having lost everything. And it's now up to her to help him get on his own feet again and to repay the favor. It sounds really interesting and cozy. I've been looking forward to a Alcott, L.M. Montgomery type read recently. So if I get to this, I would be intrigued to see which way that plot is going to go. Or in terms of things I've been meaning to read and watch forever, I could continue with the Discovery of Witches series. I read book one possibly 2 years ago now, and I really enjoyed it at the time. I've been meaning to start watching the series as well, and they just put it on US Netflix, which makes life even easier for me, so I really should get to that. If you haven't heard of this is a series that centers academics in Oxford in modern day, but one happens to be a witch or a descendant of witches. The other one happens to be a vampire. Demons also exist in this world, and they are trying to discover and protect a certain book from falling into the wrong hands. Romance ensues, adventure ensues. This one takes that plot and continues it with a little time travel thrown in. Time travel to Elizabethan England. That is everything I could want. I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet. It is quite chunky, so I'm not sure when exactly I'm going to get to this. It may or may not be this month. But again, I thought with the transition into fall, this sort of book could be quite appropriate. So I will hold on to this just in case. So those are the books that I hope maybe to read this month. Again, I'm going to be very kind to myself this month because It will be a whirlwind, I know that. I am also still working on Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens on audiobook. So the return to work and the return to listening to audiobooks on meal breaks will, I hope, help me move through that a little bit faster. Let me know down below what September has always felt like to you, if you particularly loved any of these books that I mentioned, or any books on your TBR that you are really excited to get to this month. Until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye, everyone.